Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Art of Reinvention podcast show. This show focuses on helping you become the best version of yourself by producing thought-provoking and life-changing content. Here's your host, TeflonJohn.
All right, hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy TeflonJohn coming to you courtesy of the Art of Reinvention talk show. And today, I have a good friend of mine. I have a special guest, and her name is Larvail Jones. So Larvail, we just want you to, just take a little bit and just tell people who you are and what it is that you're doing now.
Okay, my name is Larvail Jones. I'm the president and founder of God's Way Ministry, which is a community-based ministry, and we are here to meet the needs of God's people. And most recently, what we've done is open up a private Christian school in the city of Lynchburg by the name of Ross Learning Academy.
Okay, and so that would be kind of wild timing now with the pandemic and everything. So how was that going for you? Like, how does that feel to finally launch something and then this happens? Is it working for you? Is it helping you with planning? Or
Well, that's an interesting question because for us to be brand new, we opened up in August of 2019. We're just finishing out our year, and the pandemic definitely threw us for a curve, but we have actually continued teaching online. We're using the format of Zoom, and we meet with the students every day. We start in groups at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then we break off into age groups. So we have like 9th grade, 8th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, and we just had a 5th grade start with us.
Wow.
So we have continued. We're going to finish out, and I think it's very important for us to finish this year. And a lot of the parents appreciate it because a lot of the other children are at home and they're not doing much of their work.
Gotcha. So could you explain the importance of the being able to adapt? Because to me, I've heard you're just starting school and you're just starting really teaching, and you've already made the adaptation that, hey, look, this is no excuse. We're going to go online. I've talked to so many people that have been teaching for years. It's like, hey, it's no way that we can do it. So could you explain that thought process of how you even thought about Zoom and all that good stuff?
Well, I knew Zoom was a format because we've used it in other training aspects. Mm-hmm. So with that, I've actually learned more about Zoom, and I appreciate it because the students are able to interact with me. So when I'm writing on the whiteboard, they can take over actually on their computer and write on the whiteboard. Mm-hmm. We can show videos. We're still able to do Kahoot games. We're still able to do quizzes. So everything that we were doing in the classroom, we're able to do on Zoom. The only thing I don't like about it is so many people are using Zoom right now that every now and then becomes a little shaky. But but that's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, the children call me on FaceTime. Mm-hmm. And so the parents have been very supportive. Of course, people say, well, it's a private Christian school. So, of course, you're going to have that support, which that is the most wonderful part of this, is that you have the teacher that's invested, the students who are invested, and most of all, the parents, because we couldn't do it without them.
That's wonderful, because you see where I think parents now are kind of seeing that complain about teachers for years. You know what I'm saying? And they complain about the teachers, but now they're at home.
Right.
If they have some type of curriculum or package or, however their school district is choosing to do it, they're having to see the pains of teaching one child. And you're like responsible in the class for 20 to 30 kids 6 times if they're changing periods or whatever. So could you tell me how, what advice would you give now to a parent that's struggling or really doesn't know, how do I educate my child? How do I keep them learning where they're not just on the PlayStation or the Xbox all day?
Well, first of all, I think structure is the best thing for any parent. Even after having 3 of my own children, I found out keeping them on a routine. And it's hard. I know it's hard when everyone is at home saying, okay, we're going to go to bed at 9:30. We're going to get up and we're going to start class by 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock each day. I think the students and their children, when they know what to expect, they will always rise to the occasion. So if you have expectations that learning is still a priority, then they will make it a priority. So, have a set time when you do school every day. Of course, you can relax off here and there, but if you say, okay, every day at 9 o'clock, we're going to do reading. And the main important thing at this point is to keep your children reading. Keep them doing their assignments if they can. If you're not able to teach math, you can go online to Khan Academy, upload a video. There's a lot of supports out there for parents that they are able to use even at home.
Got you. Now, what could they do outside of just the regular curriculum? because you have YouTube, you have a lot of resources that when I went to school, there was no Google where you can go online. So what could they do? Because I think it's very important now where we have all this downtime, and they might not go back to school till it's next year, or I mean this coming up.
August.
Yeah, so August. So that's a lot of downtime. So what advice could you give a parent of how do they explore their child's passion, whether it be business, whether it be audio engineering, like we were talking about earlier, whether it be home ec, like what advice could you give to them of how they can attack that passion?
Well, I think having true conversations with your children and seeing what they're interested in. And even as parents, take your children outside and have them plant a garden. Help them explore things that they may not have had time to do while they were in the regular classroom. If you're a carpenter, let them build something with you. Go back to go to the store and get one of those cars, that you used to actually put together. Let them utilize their hands. And I think we've moved away from that some, but in a lot of countries, children are learning from hands-on exploration. Yeah. And I think we need to teach our children to explore again. Let them know it's okay to make a mistake. If they don't do it right the first time, that's okay. What else do you have but time right now?
Yeah.
Bring them in the kitchen. Let them be able to, teach them how to cook a meal. Hey, those measuring cups are fractions. Best way to teach them.
Yeah.
And so teach them, go back to some of that hands-on, just that time, showing the love, and the children will begin to blossom even in that setting, and they've had the best teacher, their parent.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you say hands-on because we live in a society now to where people are going after a lot of degrees, and you kind of seem like the certifications are like look down on, but at a time like this you want carpenters, you want plumbers, so could you talk about from an educator standpoint why it's so important when a child is looking at what they're doing, not to overlook those like welding and things like that?
Well, actually I've told all my children, I've even taught my students that you need to either get a trade or go to school to get a degree. But whatever you do, enjoy it. Because one thing for certain, what we don't know is that a lot of welders are making anywhere from $35 to $55 per hour. Right. And so even up in Norfolk, a gentleman who I know, he said that he was trying to teach some of his students, some of his mentees, underwater welding. Wow. And they were going to be making $55 per hour. And I wanted to know, could I take up that trade? Because as a teacher, I'm definitely not making $55 per hour. Yeah. So it's very important to not overlook certifications. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who are working in dental offices who basically took trades in school. You think about cosmetologists. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things you can do in school, get a certification, go right into the work field. You're happy. You don't have a lot of college debt. And you're able to provide for your family. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing, is being able to provide for your family and enjoy living.
Yeah, because you're seeing now with the pandemic where all industries are being affected, but some industries are getting hit harder.
Exactly.
And so you're seeing if you're like an entrepreneur, or if you can, build or have trades where you can use your hands, you already have
still
this.
Working.
Yeah, and you almost have a pandemic-proof business because you're in a contactless environment. So with you being an educator, like what made you choose to go that route?
Well, actually, the Lord did.
Okay.
And so, I was a person who always had a plan. When I first came out of school, I was determined I was going to help save the world. And then God sort of took me on a different route, and I went into education, went back to school, got a master's in special education, followed up with a master's in administration. And I actually, I'm getting ready to start my doctoral program May 11th.
Wow.
With Liberty University in curriculum and instruction. And I have found, especially in a lot of our students, the question for me was, how is it that a lot of our students cannot read? They're in middle school, they weren't able to pass tests. And so I wanted to be able to help address the issue of, one, expecting high achievement, two, teaching children skills that they did not have. And sometimes we can continue to promote people, but they're not even though their age requires promotion, they have not learned the foundational skills to be able to achieve at the same level as some of their peers. And so education for me has been the arena in which I have been able to do that. And so I've helped people get their GEDs. I've also helped a lot of children, even if they had a learning disability, they were able to pass the SOLs.
Wow.
Some were actually
Huge
able.
accomplishment.
That's it. There's some. I never forget one young lady went from making 350s in her reading SOL to 540s.
Wow.
And that was learning some of the basics that she needed to know to be successful in reading.
Now, do you think as far as like the SOL testing and different things, because I remember being in school, I was discouraged from reading because I actually went through, you know how you take those, it was a test that we took. It was like a reading and comprehension test, and we took a math test, and it gives you what reading level or
Right.
what math level. So my reading level, that's the only thing I tested low on. And because I test low on that, the teacher kind of embarrassed me in front of the entire class, and that kind of discouraged me from learning how. And I think knowing who she was, it wasn't her intention. I think she was just passionate about teaching,
Right.
and I was like, she was more disappointed in me versus trying to embarrass me, but I didn't receive it that way. How does that line flirt with you being passionate about what you teach to trying to find that fine line where you can connect with one individual?
Well, one thing I always tell my students is why we're here. And I think when you can both get on the same page, I'm here to help you learn what you need to know. And then why are you here? Are you here to learn? And once we can get on the same page and they know that everything we do together, because I can't work without my student working with me.
Yeah.
So building a relationship, but also getting them to buy into the learning process. So yes, it's hard. For reading, for some people, is very hard. I did not realize that I could read quite well. And when I was in 7th grade, I had 12th grade comprehension, but I couldn't spell. But I could spell well enough to pass tests.
Gotcha.
And so no one ever picked up on the fact that I was struggling because I was always able to compensate myself. So teaching the students that it's okay not to know, but it's not okay not to achieve.
Gotcha.
And not to give up on yourself. And I think somewhere along the line, we have made education, we treat it like it's easy for everyone. And it's not always easy. So, okay, it's not easy for me, but I don't give up on it.
Yeah.
And so I think instilling in our students a work ethic and effort that even our forefathers had. It's like they came out of slavery, they came out of segregation, they came out of hardships, but they did not give up.
Yep.
So just getting that mindset in our students that you can achieve at no matter what level
Yeah.
is the best thing for us.
And that's good because they need teachers that, it was like a couple of teachers that I had that pushed me. And even if I was struggling, like I could go to them on a one-on-one basis.
That's right.
You know, and I think that's something that teachers may struggle with because you may have, you know, a class of 25 kids and you give out the lesson, but there are 3 different aspects of the lesson that 5 people are not understanding it. And then I remember it being a point where there were no resources where you could stay back. But now with Zoom and different things, you know, I think that technology can be used, you know, like you're already using it now. If there's something that you could change about school, what would it be?
I think school in general, if I could change anything, it would be to give students what they need. I think sometimes when we have students who are at the middle school or high school level, we don't think that they need reading classes. Sometimes, you know, we may have a fundamental math class, but we don't have programs or teachers willing sometimes to go back and give them that foundation. But you think about when we talk about a carpenter, if they're building a house for you, you don't want them to build your house on half the foundation.
You're right.
So how is it that we continue to want students to learn on half a foundation? So if you don't know, and I know over time things have changed, so people have gone from decoding to whole learning, but why not do it all together? Yeah. Why not put all of those skills together and digress a little bit? It's okay if they don't have that extra elective, but they have an extra reading class.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
You know, give them PE. Why take away their PE to make them study something? Because we all know the children need to be able to be active.
Yeah.
But give them what they need to be successful. And it's okay. It's really okay to say, you know what, they don't have the skill, but we love them enough to provide it for them. And I think the SOL sometimes and some people's perception of learning has gotten away from the basics.
And so when you talk about schools need to give kids what they need, it's very ironic because you've actually started an academy, right?
Yes.
And so could you just give me a little bit of how that came about?
Well, I actually have been teaching 15 years. And you know how sometimes you will go through things where God will be speaking to you, but as long as you're comfortable, you won't do it. And so the Lord basically had told me to go and start this school to help his children. And so we went through the process of finding a location and trying to find the support we needed. And then one day a lady came in with all 5 of her children and said, okay, I'm putting them all in your school. And I was like, wow, because we didn't actually know if it was going to come into fruition or not, or to
Wow.
what capacity, whether we were just going to be tutoring or a
Yeah.
full-fledged school. And so after also talking with the gentleman who's part of the accrediting part for private schools, come to find out, even just in our volunteers, a lot of us came in with more education starting this school than a lot of startup private schools. Being that I have
Wow.
a master's in education, I have a master's in administration, and getting ready to get a doctorate, in curriculum and instruction. Some of our volunteers have degrees in business, along with other degrees. So starting as a private school, we were able to offer reading twice a week. We also we partnered with a local company by the name of Century. They had 2 of their engineers work with our children for 5 weeks. And then 2 engineers and one of the lead men assisted them, which is my husband, of course, the lead man. They assisted the children with actually building a conveyor belt.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
so they donated all the material. And so we've been able this year to give the students a lot of support and to help them start thinking outside of their limitations.
Gotcha.
So, because, sometimes the students, unless they're at the top of the class, may not be offered the STEM. And so they had that opportunity this year. We have music once a week.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we have a volunteer who comes in once a week, teaches music. We have someone who comes in twice a week who teaches Bible. And so we're able to do it all, and it's all through God's grace.
Wow.
He's made provision. This next year, we are enrolling now for the 2020-21 year. We do middle school, so we have 6th, 7th, 8th, and we also have 9th grade. And so we actually received a call a couple of weeks ago, wanted to know whether or not we were going to be doing seniors this year, or at least willing to help people get their GEDs or high school diplomas. The board has agreed this year we're going to continue with middle school. Okay. We will do 9th grade, and if needed, we will do 10th grade. Okay. But of course, it takes about 3 years to get accredited. And so we're working on everything that we need to be successful in that accreditation process.
Okay. Now when it comes to that, and I'm pretty sure with you just starting, it's funny how you said it, and then the lady brings her kids. For anyone, just to kind of give like a motivational nugget, for anyone that has an idea, and you know how, you can outthink yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because me, it's times where I could have been doing this stuff like 6 years ago, 7 years ago, but you outthink yourself. Like, what was that thought process when you said, okay, this is what God wants me to do. This is what I want to do. It lines up. Did you ever go through this point where you want to back off and like, oh, it's got to be like this. It's got to be like that?
Well, I think with time and age, it has taught me that, sometimes we think when we begin something is going to be easy. Or that we have this whole plan in our head, and it may not come out the exact way. But I began to be comfortable enough with the process of saying, no matter what, if this is what God wants me to do, I will start where he starts me.
Wow.
And he gave me the scripture, you will always hear people say, don't despise small beginnings. Well, he actually took me to the scripture, because I said, okay, God, I want you to take me to the scripture. So he took me to Zechariah. And it said, hey, he gets joy out the plumb line.
Yeah.
And so, of course, by my grandfather and them being builders, I knew what a plumb line was. And so I was like, okay, I'll start right here. And I think we have to be okay with the starting process.
You have to. And it's a lot that goes with that. Like, as you see that, you walked in, I was setting up by myself with the show. And I know that one day I'll have it where I can set up. I don't have to. I have my own set. But it's just doing that grind it's a process, and you grow and you learn. And, I think it's important for people to know, like, there's nothing wrong with that startup or what it looks like, and you'll grow and you'll look back, document that process, because you can be an inspiration to other people.
Well, I during the process, I spend a lot of time in prayer, and God, what do you want me to do? And sometimes it's just go. And I think sometimes we get so stuck in what it looks like, what we want it to look like, that we won't even go. We won't take that first step. And I remember T.D. Jakes preaching one time. He said, people celebrate me now, but would they have celebrated me when I was walking through this building with holes in the floor?
Wow, yeah.
Where the same people didn't know me when, I was in that little storefront. And even recently, he was talking about how he was on television using video that other ministries had recorded. He didn't have his own cameras. He didn't have any of that. But people would not have known that he was operating at that level of excellency without his own materials. And I think when we listen to people who have made it, that it reminds us it's okay. People may not celebrate your small beginnings, but God will always give you everything you need right where you are. And so now we started with 5 children. Now we have 7 students. I have people who are calling saying, hey, what about tutoring my child? And so, we're prayerful that next year we'll have 25 students enrolled.
Congratulations.
And so, we're hopeful we're encouraging people start enrolling now. Because once we get to that 25 mark, we'll see about, whether or not we can go to 30 or 40 with the teaching staff and the volunteers who we have. Even in starting, someone came and donated all the computers.
Wow. That's what I'm talking about.
That's it. Everything.
Gotta provide. And and I've seen things like that happen. Once I started, my brand, people I didn't know, and I believe sometimes God uses people that we don't know yet, but they're watching us.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to continue to move and operate as if you've already made it. And that's what I tell a lot of people, like when I coach them on building their brand, is you have to operate in such a way of excellence as if it already is happening. Because if you're not going to invest in it, if you're not going to put, money into it, like it's times I had to sacrifice just to get, soundboards or a new laptop, whatever, where I just kind of went through seasons where I didn't buy anything. I'm just saving up. And because when people see that, they'll see the effort that you're putting into it. And now you have businesses and other people that are connected to resources that are dumping you. So with that being said, how does a local business, or how does someone donate to the Ross Learning Academy?
Since Ross Learning Academy is under God's Way Ministry, they can go right to our website.
Okay.
If they go to God's Way Ministry, Lynchburg.org, they can donate. They can also look at some of the ministries that we've done in the past. We've taken missions trips. Someone from Uganda actually reached out to us to assist them with starting a school.
Wow.
All the way in Uganda just this past week. And so if they go to God's Way Ministry, Lynchburg.org, they can make donations.
Okay.
We are looking for people to assist us with funding our STEM program this year. And so we want to give our children the best opportunities that's out there. Along with, we want to grow our reading program and provide our students with that extra foundational supports. And our students love the music. They love spending time with Minister Tevin. He actually teaches our music department for us. And so any and all donations would be greatly appreciated, or even if they want to volunteer. They do have to pass background checks.
Yeah.
We go through the whole, everything that we need to, so if they can pass a background check, we'll be happy to accept them in as a volunteer.
That's good. And, I see we're going through a paradigm shift. It kind of reminds me of, going in the store, renting movies and renting video games. And now we're actually just hitting a button and we're streaming this stuff, right? And so you've seen where a lot of businesses kind of missed out on the opportunity. They missed out on the opportunity. So now I see where pandemic, people want to be in a contactless environment. So I think you're pretty much putting yourself in an industry early enough to where now people are not going to feel comfortable sending their kids to school.
Right.
People are not going to feel comfortable sending themselves to an environment where it may not be safe. But I think your Ross Learning Academy could be a start of something great, to where now you can be in a limited, exposure to people and germs and viruses, and you could be online with Zoom through Ross Learning Academy.
That's right.
And like I said, so you have to think about it, like what we're doing now this is going to be the new normal. Wow. And so I think you're getting in early enough to where you're going to be already there, as long as you create the content, as long as you put everything right there. That way, I think school is going to change.
Well, and I think, we have to realize that a lot of other countries, have gone home and, even after the regular day, their students would be online learning English by way of internet anyway.
Yeah.
From English speaking Americans. So I think at this point in time, us utilizing Zoom has challenged our students to invest more in their education, because, of course, after the class is over, of course, they're not in class 6 hours.
Yeah.
So they're in class maybe 2 hours, and now they have to do the work. They have to go back and watch the videos. They have the opportunity to call me for individual tutoring also. And so it's requiring all of us to change our mindsets on how learning takes place. What happens when now the schools are closed? What can we do to make sure our children are still becoming educated? And the online platform has provided that for us.
Okay. All right. So as we wrap the interview up, is there anything that you would like for the general public to know about your brand, or where Ross Learning Academy is going? Like, where can they find you at? Website, social media, or?
Well, Ross Learning Academy, we're going to be here. We're already enrolling for next year. So if they would like to enroll their children, they can go to godswayministrylynchburg.org. They can also find us on Facebook. They can also call 434-907-9058.
Okay.
And we'll be happy to answer any questions they may have.
Okay. And make sure you guys follow her on LinkedIn, Larvail Jones. So I know that's where some of your general,
Yes.
Followers may be for this type. So I would say I wish you the best. I would like to have you back on in maybe like a month or two, just to see where you're going, so people can kind of follow your journey. Because I'm telling you, I just believe that with the pandemic, this is where schools are going to be going. So there's online, LinkedIn, and you're seeing jobs do it.
That's it.
So I would say that you're well positioned, even though like it's at the beginning. I think you're in a good position right now, because I think some parents are just not going to trust, and they're going to have funds where they can just go the private school way, and I think it'll be safe, because I think this thing for like a year or so, people are still going to feel kind of finicky. And you think about schools are one of the most populated places. And what you have, like I say, I feel good about it, because you're already in position to kind of capitalize off of that. And so I would just like to end with that. I appreciate you for coming on. And I would say, just to motivate all the listeners and followers, like, follow her. And if you have an idea, take it from idea to manifestation by just moving, by just going. Don't be afraid to fall. And if you fall, make sure you fall forward, so that way you're in a better position than what you were in. And that's all I got to say. And I'd like you guys to be safe and have a blessed day. One love. Be blessed. We would like to thank you for listening to this episode of The Art of Reinvention by TeflonJohn. And we encourage you to share this episode across all your social media platforms. And we also encourage you to visit our website at www.imteflonjohn.com and follow us on all our social media platforms at facebook.com/realteflonjohn, twitter.com/realteflonjohn, and instagram.com/realteflonjohn. And while you're on Facebook, go ahead and like our page so you can receive first-hand notifications every time we go live with the motivational video or any motivational content. And as I always say, one love, be blessed.